What is up, everybody? Noble Comics here. Today, with the next round of the Tournament of Power, we have Darkseid from DC Comics versus AntiMan from Marvel Comics. We're going to look at their powers, abilities, skills, feats, and ultimately who would win if they were to fight. Briefly, the last results of old King Thor versus Broly. Thor is barely going to win, and he will move forward in the bracket against Piccolo. But with that out of the way, let's get into today's fight. So, AntiMan versus Darkseid, two very powerful characters, two very powerful villains. And I imagine most people probably don't know much about AntiMan. He's kind of a niche character, hasn't really showed up a ton, and he is directly tied to the Marvel superhero Blue Marvel, who I think a lot of people expected to sort of blow up and take off as a character, but he really didn't. And so you can imagine AntiMan even less so took off as a character. That said, I do want to start with him and kind of talk about who he is, what he can do, and sort of how he does stand a chance here. So AntiMan essentially has his origin tied together with Blue Marvel. To make things simple, science experiment disaster. Now AntiMan's body is made of antimatter. He's also kind of insane, and he is incredibly powerful. His powers are pretty typical of any sort of, super powerful, super villain type character like this. Kind of like Captain Atom or Blue Marvel is, I guess, the greatest example here, where he has super strength, super speed, durability, he can fly, he can shoot antimatter blasts, all pretty boilerplate stuff for a comic book character. He can also absorb antimatter, and he can also actually manipulate regular matter as well. And again, he does sort of have this energy form because his body is actually made of antimatter now, altogether making him quite powerful, quite durable. And in his typical form here that we've seen him do some pretty impressive stuff, like go up against the entire Avengers team. And it wasn't, your regular Avengers of Thor and the Hulk and everybody, but he did go up against Ares, She-Hulk, Blue Marvel, Iron Man, and a few other notable characters that are pretty powerful. Blue Marvel, for reference, was able to pretty much clobber the Hulk. He's fought against Sentry a whole lot of times, and a lot of those times did come out on top. And again, as far as power scaling goes, Sentry was about exactly on par with World War Hulk, who was able to essentially beat every other superhero that the Marvel Universe had to offer on planet Earth. And AntiMan was able to fight against him, the rest of these Avengers, and he did fight against Sentry as well while I'm talking about him. He was able to fight Sentry, and Sentry even made the comment that he has never fought anybody that powerful before. So this would include, World War Hulk, which is kind of why I wanted to include him. Now, Blue Marvel is a character that I thought about putting on the list, and I do like him, but I thought AntiMan 1 looked cooler, but 2 did take that power to one step further, being able to fight Blue Marvel and Sentry and the rest of these Avengers all at one time. He's fast enough to keep up with these guys. We've seen him enter Earth's orbit going at hypersonic speeds before. Obviously fast enough to fight against some of these super fast beings like Blue Marvel, like the Sentry, who we've seen use super speed attacks against other characters like Thor. He's durable enough to take huge hits from characters like Blue Marvel that just send him flying through buildings no problem, as well as hits from the Sentry. He's also taken hits from all of these Avengers all at the same time, and seems pretty much fine. He's definitely an Avengers level, Team Buster level threat, and it was even stated that the Avengers who fought him nearly died fighting him. But like all comic book villains, in the end, he did lose, and he did go away for a little bit, but he actually came back during the maybe forgotten storyline where Galactus was the life-bringer Galactus, and he became the very first Herald of Life. So he became Galactus's new herald in this new form, which made him even more powerful. He got the power Cosmic, which of course boosts his power level way higher. He gained cosmic awareness just of the entire cosmic structure of the Marvel Universe, which was kind of cool to see from his point of view, gaining that awareness. But it also did make him much more powerful. We see him easily dodging attacks from people like Blue Marvel, easily overpowering them. He uses his force fields to overpower Blue Marvel and Spectrum, like it's nothing. This form is clearly much more powerful, and it comes with more powers as well, like teleportation, be able to move between dimensions and things like that, because he is sort of on a higher plane of existence now. So everything that we talked about before gets boosted up even higher. So AntiMan as a whole, a very powerful, pretty typical comic book character, very fast, very strong, very durable, energy manipulation, energy blasts, and with the added ability of some matter manipulation, some dimensional shifting stuff going on as well, able to fight off all the Avengers at once. Certainly an opponent you'd want to keep your eyes on. But real quick, I do want to mention as well that my next graphic novel, Cardinal Starstruck, is going to be crowdfunding on Indiegogo here pretty shortly. Please follow the link in the description to sign up early and get a free trading card with the campaign. Thank you. On the other side, we have a character that pretty much everybody knows about to some degree, and that is going to be Darkseid. Probably the most notorious villain from DC Comics other than like the Joker. He's definitely the big bad of the entire DC universe. His list of feats and accomplishments is too long to list in a single video like this, so just to hit the highlights here. His most famous feats are all against Superman or the Justice League as a whole. He's gone toe-to-toe with Superman many, many times, and I do want to clarify here that there is two Darkseids, really. There is Darkseid in his true form, and then there's the avatars of Darkseid. His true form is obviously more powerful. His avatars do pack quite a punch, though, and we've seen them plenty of times as well. But essentially, we've seen Darkseid be able to manhandle Superman before, like backhanding the dude, knocking him out in just a few punches. I mean, really humiliating the guy. He's been fast enough to get the drop on Superman more than once. Obviously durable enough to take huge hits from him and the rest of the Justice League, usually all at the same time. He has easily crushed and demolished Green Lanterns like it's nothing, because to him it really is nothing. He's fought and easily defeated other gods, new gods of the DC Universe like it's nothing, and his list of powers is pretty insane. Obviously what I've just talked about, speed, strength, durability, flight, all that. He also has matter manipulation, he can teleport, he's got some time manipulation, life manipulation, telepathy, telekinesis. He can pretty much do it all. And he also has his Omega Beams, which are his extremely powerful lasers that come out of his eyes, and these can change direction as they're coming towards you. They're pretty much undodgeable, and they pretty much one-shot anything that they hit. They can even erase things from existence, which we've seen him do before. And whenever they hit Superman, they pretty much bring him to his knees because of how powerful they are. We've seen them be able to absolutely demolish other super powerful beings like Doomsday before as well. We've also seen Darkseid take out, again, some of the most powerful beings that we have in the DC Universe, like the Guardians of Oa of the Green Lantern Corps, and the likes of the Anti-Monitor. He's also immune to pretty much any type of manipulation, whether that's emotional, telepathic, anything like that. He's pretty much immune to it. In fact, he's way more likely to manipulate you in some way. He can even like manipulate your soul if he wants to. And then, on top of all this, right, we have his actual true form, which is more powerful than his avatars. And again, his avatars can go toe-to-toe with Superman. His true form is even more powerful than that. And again, that's the form that we've seen fight things like the Anti-Monitor before. We've seen that true form fight against multiversal beings. We've seen it like enslave universes and have some larger scale reality warping abilities. But what more do you expect from a guy who can casually manhandle the likes of Superman? Darkseid really is just like someone's fan fiction, essentially, of the most powerful dictator-like ruler of the multiverse that you could possibly want. Just ruthless, evil, super intelligent, super genius, and pretty much all-powerful, so that all will eventually bend the knee to Darkseid, including the Justice League. So, these two meet on the cosmic battlefield. What will happen to them? Who will win? Well, I think that it's pretty much Darkseid. Just to kind of get it out of the way. One, there are just way more feats for Darkseid, and I knew that going in with AntiMan, he did not have as many feats. But even the likes of Blue Marvel doesn't have a ton of feats, and I think that AntiMan's probably above him. But Darkseid definitely has the feats. Even in his avatar form, he's extremely impressive, let alone his true form. I don't want to completely count out AntiMan, though, because I do think he's very powerful. I don't think that you can beat people like Sentry and beat people like Blue Marvel and the Avengers all at the same time and not stand a chance, right? And he has sort of some built-in resistances to Darkseid, like they can both manipulate matter, so that pretty much works itself out. They can both manipulate energy, so that pretty much works itself out. I mean, you may be able to make the case that Darkseid could absorb AntiMan, because he is antimatter, and so that Darkseid could just like absorb his energy or something like that. I don't know exactly if that would work. I don't know exactly if Darkseid could erase him from existence if he's antimatter. But I do think that if it comes to trading blows back and forth, AntiMan is definitely at the disadvantage. Again, feats-wise, we've seen better speed feats from Darkseid, for example, right? Like getting the drop on Superman. We've seen better strength feats. Again, manhandling Superman, manhandling other extremely powerful beings, knocking out people like Doomsday, fighting the Anti-Monitor. And while we have seen, for example, AntiMan knocking out the Sentry, and Sentry saying, this is the most powerful being I've ever fought, and Sentry and Superman should be roughly equivalent, I think that Darkseid had more of a total domination, whereas AntiMan is really fighting off the whole team. Though there have been instances where that's not true for Darkseid, so maybe that's not the fairest point. Regardless, we have seen more from Darkseid. We've seen him take out more powerful beings than we have with AntiMan on the whole. Now, as a life bringer, as this herald of life, it does make it interesting because I feel like Darkseid sort of encapsulates death, and AntiMan would sort of encapsulate life in that sense, and may make it more interesting because then all of his stats go way up and he has the power cosmic and everything like that, which I think would put him closer to on par with Darkseid and True Darkseid. But I don't know if it would be enough. Like, I don't know how many Omega Beams he could tank. I don't know if he'd be able to keep up with Darkseid in a fight. I think he could inflict damage. I do think that he could inflict damage, especially in his Herald of Life form. And who's to say that his energy manipulation and his energy blasts couldn't counter what Darkseid is throwing out? But we just haven't seen it. I think from Darkseid's perspective, he has fought characters like this before, from various Justice League members to people like Superman, whereas this version of AntiMan, especially the Herald of Life, is probably more powerful than Superman, more powerful than the typical Superman that Darkseid fights. I don't think he would be caught off guard. Whereas for AntiMan, I don't think he's necessarily fought someone like this before. And so it would be more of an uphill battle and more of an uphill, adaptability for him than it would be for Darkseid, who, again, is like so old and so powerful and so intelligent that for him, this is kind of like just another day, just another back to step on. So all that said, I do think that Darkseid takes it and moves on to the next match. But as always, you get to go vote on my communities page. Make sure you vote for who you want to win. Let me know in the comments who you think would win. And I will see you in the next video.